He says he doesn't agree with the NBA's decision to fine him $5,000 for violating the league's anti-flopping rule against Houston Rockets in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. The league said Wednesday that he exaggerated contact after his three-pointer with 3 minutes and 7 seconds remaining in the fourth. Curry made the shot and fell to the court after getting bumped by Terrence Jones. Steve Kerr says he's morally outraged.
These plays happen every day. I don't think a game goes by where Jamal Crawford doesn't flop 6 times on his three-point shots. It's part of the game. And I don't blame him for doing it because a lot of times the refs call it. Russell Westbrook does it. Everybody does it. So all of a sudden, just randomly to find Steph just seems kind of strange. Are we just choosing one time to do this? You can pick out flops every single game from half the guys out on the floor, so it just seems sort of random.
All right, so Steve Kerr says it seems sort of random, but Skip, you heard Steve Kerr say something different?
Well, no, there was a little bit before that where he said, yeah, Steph flops. I'm paraphrasing how he said it. I heard the first of the sound. But anyway, the point is...
Surprised by it?
Yes. I was stunned by it, Stephen A., because that's a pretty bizarre reaction from the coach of the Golden State Warriors in the heat of a conference finals series to me. I assume it was a completely honest reaction from an old school player who won championships, Steve Kerr did, alongside the great Michael Jordan, and who despises in and of himself the art of flopping that has at times taken over the game these days. And remember, Steve Kerr was a tough kid. He made some big shots for the Bulls. Remember the anecdote from practice? He got into it one day with Michael Jordan in practice, and Michael dropped him with one punch. So Steve comes across as a nice guy, but he was a really tough guy. He doesn't like flopping. The point is, though, that right now he is the coach of the new MVP of this league. And part and parcel of that is being the public protector of the MVP. So to me, I was shocked at the reaction because I didn't think it was a flop in the first place. Silly me, I thought it was a foul, Stephen A., and I thought it at the flashpoint moment I saw it. I thought that Terrence Jones body fouled Steph on the way by him, that they banged bodies, and did Steph maybe slightly exaggerate his fall? Maybe like on a flopping scale of 1 to 10, maybe it was a 1 as a flop. But there was a foul. I thought that should have been called, and as we all know, he somehow made the 3. So I thought it should have been a 4. And the point here is that the NBA singled out and embarrassed its new MVP for that? Are you kidding me? That should have been Steve Kerr's reaction. You're doing that to that guy after all he's done for this league and for us this year? It was just completely out of bounds. It's bizarre. It's hard to explain why they would suddenly publicly fine and embarrass Steph Curry for what could have been called a foul. So it wasn't even really a flat-out flop. Your thought?
Well, for me, my initial thoughts was I agree with you that it was not a flop. I thought that Terrence Jones' body, caught some of Steph, and then transition when you're pulling up like that. Certainly, I agree with Steph Curry that I didn't think it was a flop at all on his part, and I agree with you in terms of thinking that he was fouled. At the same time, an offensive foul could have easily been called against Steph Curry because before he got hit by Terrence Jones, in both of our opinion, I thought he pushed off. I can't tell whether it was Brew or Jason Terry that he shrugged with his right shoulder. Yeah. But nevertheless, he pushed off to create room to get the shot off. And to me, he could have easily been called for an offensive foul there.
Whole nother issue.
So to me, the ref missed the offensive foul call. The ref missed the offensive foul call, number 1. And number 2, they made the mistake by calling it a flop because we know that Terrence Jones' body touched Steph Curry, so I don't think it was a flop. But I'm not going to go as far as to say the league embarrassed him. I mean, it's a part of the game, and it's a rule that they've come down with that they're trying to really engage its personnel in. They don't want flopping. I spoke to former Commissioner David Stern on several occasions about this in the past, and he was the one that strongly advocated the rule being instituted and guys being fined. Matter of fact, David Stern and I were talking about it, and he was talking about, yeah, maybe we'll come up with a fine to stop this flopping and stuff because it's too much whining to the referees and what have you. And sure enough, a few months later, that's exactly what he ended up doing, making sure that this rule was implemented. So it's a pet peeve of his. It was a pet peeve of people in the league office. It's something that they want to eradicate from the game because they despise the fact that guys are always in the face of the referees even when they know they're wrong. They hate the notion that referees are being worked, that they're trying to be manipulated. They accept it from the coaches because you understand that. That's the job of a coach, essentially. But they despise the players being the ones that actually actually engage in flopping and things of that nature, or trying to coax the referee into making a call in their favor, because they truly are of the mindset that players should just go out there and play and do your best and go up against somebody else at their best and see who comes out victorious. That's the way they view things. And I don't think it's embarrassing that Steph Curry got a $5,000 fine. I don't think any of us are looking at Steph Curry and saying, oh, my Lord, he got $5,000. He was embarrassed.
Well, he was embarrassed. He got shown up yesterday as the sort of the face of flopping. I don't remember any of the flopping fines through the playoffs. Maybe I missed one someplace. But how could you single out that small instance of flopping by the new MVP? You know what? I'll tell you what it came across to me as. You may think I'm reaching for this, but it's Brady-esque.
Oh.
Not that it's the same thing, but it's where you're reaching to show up your MVP, your star of the league, for something that is gray area at best. I don't think Tom Brady did anything to doctor his footballs. I don't think he was responsible. In this case, I think a foul should have been called for Steph, not that he gets fined for flopping here. So it's not like Tom Brady. It's just Brady-esque. It's a similar situation. Why would you do it to this guy at this moment, at this time? Again, you're trying to make a statement.
Well, Well, the statement that you're trying to make is that you are a strong advocate against flopping. And if you're willing to sit there and dime out the league MVP for flopping, nobody is immune and nobody is safe to the consequences of flopping. However, at the same time, it's a $5,000 fine for a multimillionaire who's a star in the NBA entering Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. This is not even going to be a story after tonight's game. Nobody's going to be thinking about the fact that Steph Curry got fined $5,000. I mean, please.
Yeah, they are.
That's like somebody getting fined a penny to these guys. I mean,
it's not the fine. It could be a penny.
It's not embarrassing.
The fine could be a penny because all that matters, again, Brady-esque, Brady's reputation got damaged. No matter whether he did it or didn't do it, it got damaged. And in this case, Steph had to answer to this yesterday. Now it's ingrained in the minds of fans everywhere outside Warrior Nation that Steph is a flopper. That's just wrong. I don't consider him a flopper. Well, seriously, you singled him out as your face of flopping.
If he were
That's what you just did.
If he were defending James Harden, and let's say, for example, James Harden was going to the basket and pushed off, and Steph Curry exaggerated and fell back as if James Harden really elbowed him or something and gave him an offensive foul, and the league sat there and said, you know what, Steph, we thought you flopped on that defensive play, what would you be saying?
And they fined him for that? And it was a clear-cut flop?
Yeah, it's like flopping.
Okay. Well, at least I'd say, well, that's a clear.
They find it. In other words, if you tried to sell, hold on. If you tried to sell an offensive foul on a part of James Harden, all right, and it worked, but then the league turned around and said, Steph Curry, that was not an offensive foul on that play. You flopped defensively. Would we be having this discussion?
No, because that would be a clear-cut, blatant flop, and I'd say, okay, you got him. I would understand, although I watched 7 games of my Spurs against the Clippers, and Ginobili flopped at least 7 times.
Okay.
At least 7 times that were far worse than this flop, because this wasn't a flop. Why would you single that play out? That's my point. You agree with me it was a foul.
That's not the question. That's not the question. The question is, would it be embarrassing? Your Manu Ginobili flopped 7 times, you just said. Are you embarrassed by Manu Ginobili? Is the world embarrassed by Manu Ginobili because of flopping? No. It's part of the game. They find you, they catch you, they find you. It's no big deal. There's nothing embarrassing about it is all that I'm trying to say.
The world has already decided that Ginobili flops. And he's lost respect around the country because of that, around the world for that matter, because he's a flopper. He was the king of floppers for a long time. I don't love it either. Steph Curry has no reputation until right now. He got fined on the second biggest stage in the sport, the conference finals, as the new MVP. Are you kidding me? That's outrageous, and that's out of bounds for this league to try to single him out to make that statement. I'm sorry.
It was the wrong call for the league to make. We agree on that. Just don't tell me it's embarrassing, like, oh, my God, now Steph Curry's reputation is impugned because the league fined him for flopping. Who cares? Nobody cares.
Well,
but
I
you.
do. I do. That's all that matters to me is that I do. And Kerry does.
Skip is putting me in it, too.
Yeah.
Stephen A's like, who cares?
She doesn't care.
Yes, she does.
She doesn't care.
I can tell.
Who cares?
She ain't thinking about Steph Curry flopping.
Who cares?
You know what?
Be honest, Kerry. Be honest.
I'm honest. I don't care. Who cares?
You stayed out too late with Floyd last night.
Oh, Skip.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You need another hour of sleep. It's okay.
I didn't.
I'm okay.
You could believe what you want. Hey, I'm here.
Yes, you are.
I'm here, ain't I?
Yes. And
Thank
for that,
you.
I love you.
Warriors.
And just for the public purposes, I was
Game
not
2.
hanging out with
I
Floyd.
know you are.
Stop lying. But go ahead.
Tonight on ESPN, coverage begins at 8 Eastern with Kia NBA Countdown. These boys, I tell you, they're something, aren't they? Coming up next, Kraft stands down and Roger Goodell stands up. No backdoor deal for Brady, says the commissioner, but do we really believe him? I care about this topic. On to that. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
So just ride to it, change your vibe to it, to see the good in everything.
Just randomly to find Steph just seems kind of strange. Are we just choosing one time to do this? You can pick out flops every single game from half the guys out on the floor, so it just seems sort of random.
All right, so Steve Kerr says it seems sort of random, but Skip, you heard Steve Kerr say something different?
Me. I assume it was a completely honest reaction from an old school player who won championships, Steve Kerr did, alongside the great Michael Jordan, and who despises in and of himself the art of flopping that has at times taken over the game these days. And remember, Steve Kerr was a tough kid. No, there was a little bit before that where he said, yeah, Steph flops. I'm paraphrasing how he said it. I wish I heard the first of the sound. But anyway, the point is...
Surprised by it?
Yes. I was stunned by it, Stephen A., because that's a pretty bizarre reaction from the coach of the Golden State Warriors in the heat of a conference finals series to me.
Steve Kerr says he's morally outraged.
These plays happen every day. I don't think a game goes by where Jamal Crawford doesn't flop 6 times on his three-point shots. It's part of the game. And I don't blame him for doing it because a lot of times the refs call it. Russell Westbrook does it. Everybody does it. So all of a sudden,
He says he doesn't agree with the NBA's decision to fine him $5,000 for violating the league's anti-flopping rule against Houston Rockets in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. The league said Wednesday that he exaggerated contact after his three-pointer with 3 minutes and 7 seconds remaining in the fourth. Curry made the shot and fell to the court after getting bumped by Terrence Jones.